Hi, and thanks for joining me again this week. Beginning next Tuesday, gas-powered leaf blowers will not be legal in Montgomery County anymore. We banned their sale last year, and now this is the next step of the law. This ban is a step toward cleaner air and quieter neighborhoods. I don't support the amendment being considered by the council to carve out an exemption for landscaping companies. Battery-powered alternatives are now reliable and more affordable. We have several reasons for enacting this ban. Gas-powered leaf blowers are noisy and create pollutants that contribute to carbon emissions that heat our atmosphere and make it more difficult to breathe. Emissions from gas-powered devices also can affect public health. By adopting electric leaf blowers, we're playing an active role in reducing harmful air emissions, lessening our dependence on fossil fuels, and getting away from a device that contributes to hearing loss, cardiovascular, and respiratory diseases as well. On my media briefing this week, I was joined by Mary Ciavaglini, a program manager overseeing landscape programs for the Department of Environmental Protection. She talked about the benefits of making this change and learning more about everything from compliance to rebates.
The emissions from a gas leaf blower being used for 1 hour is equivalent to the emissions of driving a car from DC to Miami. Not only is that a huge air pollutant, but the user of a leaf blower is breathing in everything from that unspent fuel. Here in Montgomery County, we estimate that close to 10% of our businesses are landscaping, and that suggests they have over 2,300 landscaping companies, with over 6,000 individual landscape workers. I can guarantee you these are some of the hardest working folks in our county. They're working year round to keep our landscapes clean and beautiful. We'd also like to keep their health in good shape. The county does recognize this is a big change for many landscaping companies, and at the Department of Environmental Protection, we're providing educational resources which are available on our website at www.montgomerycountymd.gov/leaf blowers. And we also have a limited rebate program for landscapers, which will also open on July 1st, where smaller landscapers can get up to $1,500 in rebates towards the purchase of electric leaf blowers.
I want to revisit an issue that I've spent a lot of time criticizing over the past year. Zoning Text Amendment, ZTA 2502, part of what's being called More Housing Now package. The stated goal is to create more homes that are affordable to middle-income workers, teachers, police officers, healthcare workers, and others. That would be a great thing, but there's no guarantee that this ZTA is actually going to do that. ZTA 2502 would allow multifamily buildings, duplexes, triplexes, townhouses, and even small apartment buildings in more than 25 corridors currently zoned for single-family homes. That's a major change in neighborhoods across the county. These plans contradict what the council promised when it passed the Thrive 2050 General Plan. It was supposed to be a guide, not a way to implement wide-scale zoning changes through ZTAs. Residents were told that Thrive was an overview, not a prescription for what and where changes should be made. The council and the planning board told residents that actual changes would still follow the master plan process that has existed for decades, and that required community involvement and analysis of impacts on schools, traffic, and environmental concerns. Residents and businesses sat on master plan committees and discussed and voted on recommendations that would ultimately go to the council. But now major changes are being proposed through a zoning text amendment where the only input residents got was a few minutes of public comment. Basically, our residents have been cut out of decision-making that directly affects the community they live in. There is no meaningful input about the direction of our communities. We are left with decisions based on planning board analysis that single-family homes are bad and our county should become more urbanized. Of all the plans done over the years, neither the planning board nor the council ever created plans that undid the nature of county neighborhoods. Homeowners give a lot of thought to where they choose to live. They relied on master plans for certainty that this is what they could expect. Well, gone are those days where you could actually rely on a master plan anymore, or that you would know how you would have input that would actually shape the community. Instead, this kind of change is unprecedented. Between this and the two other pending zoning measures, the ability to rely on integrity of the master plans is gone, and residents cannot rely on having a place at the table when planning and council members decide that your neighborhood should change. Thanks to our existing master plans, Montgomery County already has zoning capacity for over 85,000 additional housing units, on top of 34,000 housing units already in the development pipeline. The Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments made a presentation and sent a letter pointing out to all of the county governments that we have already zoned for more people than are projected to move here through 2050. So if the zoning exists and there are so many approved but unbuilt units, why are so many of those units not being built? The most direct answer is the lack of employment growth has stymied housing growth. Jobs drive housing demand. People need work before they buy or rent, and where they work typically is shaped by where people choose to live. We don't need more zoning changes to create more housing. What we need is more affordable housing rather than focusing on high-end housing that serves a smaller portion of the population. This CTA doesn't guarantee affordability. In fact, it could actually make things worse by encouraging the demolition of more modest homes and replacing them with more expensive new units. Even Planning Zone's study of Silver Spring showed that replacement units will actually cost more than the ones they replace. And developers can evade any requirement to build affordable units by simply building 2 houses on a single-family lot rather than building 3 units. As I mentioned earlier, this ZTA sidesteps the master planning process. It throws out the idea of community engagement and planning infrastructure like schools, roads, stormwater, and sewer capacity. We've seen what happens when we ignore those issues, as in Bethesda, where growth has so far outpaced promised infrastructure. This proposal repeats that mistake in neighborhoods all across the county. I'm also concerned about the workforce housing program the ZTA relies on. That program actually doesn't work. Since it began years ago, only 110 for-sale units were ever created, and almost half of them no longer are affordable. On the rental side of the workforce housing units ended up being rented at close to what the market rate was, basically no benefit in being labeled workforce housing. Before we expand this program, we need to fix it, but no effort was made to fix it. Our Department of Housing and Community Affairs is studying how to revamp the moderately priced dwelling units program to address affordability limitations. I look forward to sharing that update soon with the County Council. The fact that the ZTA passed committee this week means it is set for a vote by the full council soon. You can influence this. Let your council member know how you feel and ask them to return to the master planning process rather than passing the ZTA. Our Department of Housing and Community Affairs is developing a new plan to integrate workforce and affordability into our MPDU program. That's where the focus should be, and I'm asking the council to wait until that work is complete. I know there's frustration about housing costs, but that's exactly why we need real solutions, not zoning changes that look like progress but won't actually solve the problem and may actually make it worse. This is simply another giveaway to developers, particularly townhouse developers who see these neighborhoods as ideal locations to build townhouses by clearing out existing single-family homes. And we already know from another parking planning study that new units will be more expensive than the single-family housing they replace. This CTA and the way it was done breaks our master plans and is turning them into a charade while facing very little public scrutiny, which is important because we're not just planning buildings, we're planning for people, where they're going to live and where they want to live. And that should come first. July 1st marks the start of the new fiscal year and the implementation of several new laws. In Montgomery County, the minimum wage will rise to $17.65 an hour for businesses with 51 or more employees, $16 an hour for businesses with between 11 and 50 employees, and $15.50 for businesses with 10 or fewer employees. This increase is part of the law I sponsored when I was on the council. It ensures wages keep up with inflation, a basic need that the federal government continues to ignore, because the national minimum wage is still stuck at $7.25 an hour. Try living on that. On the state level, new laws taking effect next week will increase penalties for dangerous driving, including the Sergeant Pat Kemp Act to address the reckless speeding that we're seeing, expand speed camera use in roadwork zones, allow expungement of some criminal records tied to minor drug possession, require insurers to cover hearing aids for adults, make telehealth coverage permanent, protect gender-affirming healthcare, offer GEDs in Spanish, and increase certain sales taxes, including on vending snacks, IT services, and tobacco and cannabis products. These changes are important. I encourage everyone to stay informed about how they might be impacted. This week's heat has been intense. Even the nighttime temperatures have not brought much relief. So I hope you and all your friends and loved ones are doing well. I want to remind you that county buildings like libraries and senior centers are open during regular hours if you need to cool off. I want to thank our Department of Recreation for supporting both our summer camps and residents needing air conditioning. Our pools have been busy and staff has done a great job under tough conditions. I also want to thank our Department of Transportation for handing out free water to bus riders. And nearly 50 people stepped up to help our Animal Services and Adoption Center during their AC repairs. We found temporary homes for almost all the animals that were affected by heat, and especially those with medical issues. Please watch for signs of heat illness, which is cramps, dizziness, or headaches, and it means it's time to take a break. If someone faints, breathes rapidly, or has a weak pulse, get medical help immediately. If you're worried about someone living outside in this heat, you can call 240-907-2688 to get them some help. Last year, 27 Marylanders died from heat-related illnesses, including a Baltimore City sanitation worker who died on the job. Last fall, the Maryland Department of Labor issued new workplace safety regulations requiring that employers act when the heat index exceeds 90 or 100 degrees, and that includes providing water, shade, and breaks. We're monitoring the health of our outdoor workers, and I want to thank all the county employees out there who are doing critical work, rain or shine, or intense heat. Just last Thursday, after wicked storms passed through the county, MC-DOT received over 107 reports of downed trees and debris, and MCFRS responded to trees falling on homes and cars. Thankfully, no serious injuries were reported. As we move deeper into the summer, I encourage everyone to sign up for Alert Montgomery to stay informed about severe weather and traffic impacts. It provides immediate emergency notifications about bad weather directly to your cell phone via text, email, or by voicemail. The service can even keep you updated on when inclement weather cancels a swim lesson, closes a pool, or impacts fields across the county. You can check on fields maintained by Montgomery Parks through its Rainout page. Last week, I attended the Bio International Conference in Boston, representing Montgomery County. We're at the heart of the nation's third largest biocluster, the only county that is home to NIH, FDA, NIST, and the University of Maryland Institute for Health Computing, along with a cluster of very innovative biohealth companies. At Bio, I not only promoted our county during meetings and events, which helps to raise the profile of our biotech businesses and resources on our international stage, but I also met one-on-one with dozens of companies from around the world, from Korea to Ireland, from Japan to India, because Montgomery County is not just ready for growth, we're ready to help these companies grow here. Startups looking for a U.S. landing pad and established firms seeking strategic East Coast expansion have found success here in our business incubators. Some of those international companies have been aided by the state with soft landing assistance. We have the lab space, talent, and innovation resources here to welcome both local and global businesses and to help them grow. We also signed partnership agreements with Metropolitan City of Daejeon, Korea, and with the Biomedical Translation Research Center Academia Sinica in Taipei to strengthen economic development ties, open doors for innovation, and make sure entrepreneurs can hit the ground running when they come here. The agreements we signed in Boston leverage the relationships we built over the past 2 years, strengthening the connection between international efforts and ours, promoting biotech innovation, and opening doors that swing both ways. Montgomery County knows how to support life science companies through targeted tax credits, a variety of grants supporting technology innovation, and the right partnerships. We're one of the most diverse and educated populations in the country, which leads to good word of mouth internationally. People respect who we are and they understand our diversity matters. Around the world, we're seen as safe and a welcoming community. We're building a future that's sustainable, inclusive, and driven by real partnerships. I'm glad I was able to continue that work in Boston and look forward to sharing new developments that highlight our international partnerships and business growth activities. Before we end June, we will come together as a community to close out Pride Month with Pride in the Plaza. It's happening this Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. in downtown Silver Spring. At a time when the federal government is undermining LGBTQ+ rights and trying to erase history, we're doing the opposite. We're standing up and protecting our LGBTQ+ residents and celebrating their role in our community. Hope you can join the festivities and be an ally to the community. That's it for now. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope it cools down, and we'll have another video for you again next week.